G'day there. I'm about to go for a bit of a spinning gear. Gee whiz, it's changed since times of old Mitchell reels and tubular fiberglass rods and all that. Let me talk a little bit about before I start loading it up. As a reel, I like middle of the range stuff. There's no bloody way I'll pay $1,000 for a reel and half it just goes naming rights. There's so many good quality spin mills around these days. This one's a Penn. I'm quite happy to use that. Rods, I do like anything that Gary Loomis has had anything to do with. He designs rods for TFO these days and his own range. G. Loomis, his former brand, is still out there, but since Shimano have bought it, the only thing that's got improved is the price. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to load a reel up. The KISS principle is paramount in all this. There are lots of ways to attach line to the reel arbor, half a dozen different methodologies. I like the simple one, and we start with a uni knot. One of the things about braid, if you're going to tie a uni knot, make sure you do at least 6 turns. 4 turns is not enough, probably 8 is too many. So 6-turn uni knot, we start with that. Uni knot's pretty simple, it's in the books. You can tie it blindfolded after you've chug-a-lugged a bottle of Bundy. With your knots, you need to be able to become familiar with them, do them almost on autopilot, and without getting too much into the intricacies of knots. There are certain knots that do a certain job better than the others. That's pretty important. So which knot for which job, that's an area of fishing that probably needs greater exploration. Anyway, I've got a loop there, pretty simple. Knock the bail arm over, make sure before you're going to load up that the reel's on nice and firm. Now this is pretty simple. I just do there, a couple of wraps like that, and then I grab the other strand, reverse it back over, and then I just pull it tight. And that will lock it down. Spooling up generally requires a helper, but I've only got 2 sets of hands and a bit of bush ingenuity, so we'll do it this way. Bit of stick, thread it through the runners, a little bit of balance there, and away we go. There we go. Now you've got to spool it under tension. If you're a pastry cook or a lady's hairdresser, you may have trouble, you know, but it's not for the limp-wristed. So you clamp on it and spool it on real tight. I like to sort of spool on under pretty. I can just use my hands. I'm an ex-shearer and still have a bit of strength for my fingers and so on. But if you want a good way to do it, spool it up, then run it out behind the boat, and that puts a compounding tension on the core of the reel, and that'll see you through. But anyway, here we go. The stick's holding. Now I'm pressuring it here, there. One of the things when you're spooling up is to underfill the reel. Too much braid on it, you've got a recipe for trouble. Okay, leaders. I like a double leader that gives you a little bit of spring, and there's a special spinning technique that facilitates this. What we do there is make a loop there, have it outside the thumb and forefinger, and your line's basically at 90 degrees to each other, and just roll. See how it's coming out? And that is actually a spring effect. You'll find that more striking fish will hook up and less hook fish will get free. See that? I'm just holding those 2 bits at 90 degrees to each other, just making sure that they don't mesh too much, and that's it. That's how you spin a leader up. People use electric drills and a football team in a 10-acre paddock, but you can do it with 2 fingers. Again, the KISS principle. And you're seeing it here probably for the first time. You won't see this on television. You just see badges all over people saying I'm good, I'm better, I'm whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's how it's done. Okay, reel filled, rod loaded. Now, one of the little tricks with tying knots is to put the rod in a holder, have tension on your main line. That's a little trick that'll get you out of a lot of trouble. I've already made a leader up to save a little bit of time, and now we have the job of attaching it. A lot of people start their rig with a bimini twist and a double, but to be honest, if you use a bimini twist or any sort of double, you put a weak spot up your line a little bit. That's the weakest link in the chain. I've dispensed with all that and just have a simple knot to the leader. This is called a Decky's knot or a duck nose or another corruption. Thread the line through the leader like that, pinch it there, and this is where the tension comes in, the tension on the line. Okay, and then we just do a back wrap here, wrap it around 8 times, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's almost a version of an Albright knot. Thread him through. Sometimes you have to just remove the tension a little bit to get the loop there. There we are. Pull it tight like so, and then pull the tension back on, and just don't slide the braid up the knot, but slide the leader down. That's a little trick there. Slide the leader down into the knot. There we are, and that's quite a simple little rig, and that is as strong as your bestest bimini and whatever else you want to do here. Okay, knock the tag off. I don't like cutting knots flush. I just like to leave a little bit, centimetre or so. What happens with braid, it frizzes up, and if any slime gets on the leader and that, it slides down and it catches in this. Just another little trick. You want to maximise every cast. You run into endless arguments about left-hand wind, right-hand wind. You see people changing hands. I'm all for the simplest procedure, the shortest distance between 2 points, the minimum muscle expenditure. And the best way to do that is to, whatever hand you're using, you cast with one hand, you wind with the other. You don't swap hands, but I see people doing it all the time. And over a lifetime, that's quite a lot of extra movement. Put the reel there between the fingers, midway between the fingers, so that the index finger can reach the spool. That's critical. Casting, if you have a soft bait, worms, pippies, prawns or whatever, you throw a fair bit of overhang, distance between the rod tip and what you're going to cast, and you cast with a nice gentle lob. Conversely, if you got a lure and you have to skip it in under a snag, you throw it off a rod tip like so, flat trajectory cast, boom. When you're using spin gear, this is the most sensitive part, the index finger of the rod hand, particularly the pad on the end. This is a multi-function piece of your hand. If you're a shooter, you pull the trigger with that one, you do all sorts of little manipulations with it. It is just very, very sensitive. And for the purpose of a spinning reel, what you do is always index the line roller opposite the rod there, like so. Reach forward with your index finger, trap the line there, pretty simple, and disengage the bail arm and make a cast. If you want to terminate the cast, you just put your hand over, your finger over, and it traps the line. There are a couple of reasons for the forefinger, the pad there, that sort of all fit together. The whole thing comes together. Casting is very much like playing golf. Back swing, forward swing, you've got to load the rod, and if one part breaks down, the whole lot goes to shit. So you have to sort of get it right. Now, why I cue this line roller opposite the rod is I can pick the line up, so I've got a quick cyclic rate, but also the reel. With braid, you always need to engage the reel on the downstroke. So when I wind it, the rotor goes and the bail arm goes down. If you engage it on the upstroke, you will put a loop of line on the reel in time, and it will come back to haunt you. Now, the other little trick will make reels last infinitely longer is to disengage the reel, the bail arm by hand, So when you make the cast, engage it by hand rather than use the internal cam. Your reels will last twice as long. Anyway, I'm about to go fishing. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope there was a bit of good information there. See you next time.